When I grew up in Kalihi, I didn't like this name Muliufi. I used to tell my mother, Maka, nga kilingolea. And I didn't particularly like my middle name, Francis. Because every Francis that I knew growing up in Kalihi was a girl.
Muliufi Francis Hannemann was named after his maternal grandfather, High Chief Soliai Pinamua Muliufi. Mufi's mother, Faiaso, was from the island of Tutuila, American Samoa. Mufi's father, Gustav Hannemann, was from Upolu, Western Samoa. The family, of mixed Samoan, German, and English heritage, was involved in inter-island transportation.
It wasn't until I went to Harvard University, went to the Widener Library, opened up the books on the history of Samoa, and there I saw a copy of the Treaty of the Deed of Cession, and lo and behold, there was my great-grandfather, who had the wisdom, along with those other paramount chiefs, to affix his signature on the Deed of Cession that ceded and made Tutuila and eventually Manua part of the greatest country in the world, the United States of America. And I remember running back to my dorm, picking up the phone, and calling my mother in Kalihi. My mom picked up the phone. I said, Mama, now I know why you gave me that name. It's what I'm all about. It's making sure that great-grandfather's name lives on in one of us, because he was a great man. And so while others may be named John and Robert and Tom and Steve and Dick, I have the name of Muliufi.
Mufi, the sixth of Gustav and Faiaso's children, was born on July 16, 1954, in Honolulu. Gustav worked hard to support his growing family and also served as a bishop in his Mormon church. Faiaso tended to the many needs of their family. Both parents instilled in all their children the importance of family, faith, education, giving back to the community, and pride in their Polynesian heritage. Mufi grew up in Kalihi and attended public schools. He quickly distinguished himself as a dedicated and talented student and earned a scholarship to Iolani School. At Iolani, he became a popular scholar-athlete who was accepted by colleges in the Ivy League and Stanford. Mufi chose Harvard to fulfill his mother's dream and graduated cum laude in 1976. Mufi continued his education as a Fulbright Scholar in Wellington, New Zealand, focusing on his Pacific Island roots and studying the complexities of Pacific Rim economies. He returned home to Hawaii and became a teacher and boys varsity basketball coach at his alma mater, Iolani. Governor George Ariyoshi gave him an opportunity to fulfill his parents' desire to give back to the community by appointing him as his special assistant in 1979. This led to a later appointment as an assistant with the U.S. Department of the Interior during the Carter administration. In 1983, he was awarded a coveted White House fellowship under President Reagan, where he worked for Vice President George Herbert Walker Bush. Governor John Waihee appointed Hannemann Director of the Office of International Relations, and later as his Director of the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism. On one of his many trips to Washington, D.C., Mufi met his future wife, Gail Akiko Mukaihata. They married on August 15, 1992, and returned to Hawaii. Mufi campaigned successfully in 1994 for a seat on the Honolulu City Council, representing his home district of Aiea Pearl City. Shortly after re-election to his second term, he became chairman of the City Council. In 2004, he was ready once again to set his sights on Honolulu Hale. The mayoral race of 2004 was one of the most contentious in memory, but Hannemann prevailed, though he was outspent 2-1. On January 2, 2005, Mufi Hannemann was sworn in as Honolulu's 12th mayor and first native-born mayor in almost 40 years. During his first 4 years, Hannemann was tested, but remained true to his values and the promises he made as a candidate. In 2008, Mayor Hannemann, having won over even some of his harshest critics and detractors, was easily re-elected to his second term, earning an 80% approval rating. Mayor Hannemann has amassed a solid record of accomplishments with his years at City Hall and has indeed transformed Honolulu into a better place to live, work, and raise our families. Hannemann's leadership skills have also been recognized at the national level.
Mufi Hannemann is one of our great treasures at the U.S. Conference of Mayors. He's great to work with, he's smart, he's creative, and he's passionate about his city, which makes him passionate about cities in general.
Hannemann was voted a trustee of the U.S. Conference of Mayors and chairman of the group's Standing Committee on Tourism, Arts, Parks, Entertainment, and Sports. He reestablished the standard of fiscal accountability. Special funds were no longer raided. Long-neglected infrastructure repairs were moved back to the top of the list and funded appropriately. A series of clean audits earned Honolulu its first low-risk auditee status in 10 years, and its bond rating reached an all-time high AA rating. Property tax rates for 2009 remain over 9% lower than in 2005 when Hannemann first took office. Public safety has always been the mayor's top priority, and his commitment to our first responders has kept Honolulu at the very top of the list of safest cities in America. Honolulu's fire department, also nationally accredited, has a new headquarters, renovated stations, and new fire trucks. Hannemann's rail transit solution for our city's growing traffic problem gained a final and definitive vote of confidence from Honolulu's residents and is now on the fast track. Under Hannemann, the city has filled tens of thousands of potholes and resurfaced major roadways throughout Oahu. Parks have been systematically cleaned and returned for use by the general public. Curbside recycling is now a reality for all of Oahu. He has a consistent and quiet dedication to those core principles learned from his parents that have shaped the very fabric of his life into a pattern of meaningful traditions. In January of every year, Hannemann and his wife Gail quietly convene a non-denominational New Year's prayer service at Kalihi Church. It is attended by ministers of various faiths, his family, cabinet members, staff, and the general public. Hannemann quietly and humbly asks for the guidance of Ke'okua for his administration in the following year. It's a simple and personal act of faith that impresses even the most cynical among us and reassures all of us that the man at the helm of our city is well-grounded with a functioning moral compass. Another annual ritual that reflects both the value of education and commitment to giving back that his parents emphasized is Hannemann's college scholarships. For the past 15 years, Mufi has awarded scholarships out of his own pocket to deserving high school graduates. Also, since leaving Harvard, he has presented nearly 24 Harvard Book Prizes to the top juniors in schools across the state. The 21st century Ahupua'a is how Hannemann describes the city's award-winning efforts involving conservation, alternative energy use, and sustainability. In an act of respect for the wisdom of Polynesian cultural practices, Hannemann has founded the 21st century Ahupua'a Youth Ambassadors for high school-age kids so they can participate in creating a more sustainable and self-sufficient future for our island home. Hannemann lives and governs by a list of precepts he calls Mufi's maxims. One is, leave this a better place than you found it. It's a value he learned from his parents, an admonition he makes to his cabinet, and a philosophy that guides his thoughts and deeds. When he tells America's newest citizens what is possible with the values of family, faith, education, giving back to the community, and pride in their cultural heritage, they believe him because they know he lives his values and that he will leave this a better place than he found it.
We have the ability within ourselves to compete and excel in everything we do on any stage, in any place. We can be somebody. Nothing can stop us.